You have found a place to belong here on the Circle of Friends. I am your guest host this week. I'm Leanne Miller, and I'm here with some lovely friends, and we're here to talk about some interesting topics. So before we begin, I would love each of them to introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Amy Schleybaugh, and I live here in Holmes County. I met my husband in college. We have two sons that are now in college also at Wheaton. One is in Europe right now, and the other is home for the summer. I'm glad about that.
Yeah, they're adults now.
Yes, weird.
And we've got a gentleman around the table this morning, Amy's dad. Go ahead, introduce yourself, Amy's dad.
I'm Bill Anstein. I'm Amy's father, and we have 3 other children. I'm retired for 10 years from an engineering career and here to support Amy and this program.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Anstein, Amy's mother, and I'm here also just to support Amy and to enjoy hearing a program with her discussing her faith and her life.
Yeah, that's great. I have been friends with Amy for, just shy of 10 years, we'll say. And I learned early on that Amy had a lung disease, basically because if you hang out with Amy for any length of time, you notice something's going on with her breathing. So that has been interesting and enlightening for me as a friend, but also it's very important to talk about disease and illness and struggle as it pertains to our Christian faith. So often we can be in 2 camps. One where we just rest in our place and don't have much hope, and the other where we believe that if our faith is big enough that God will completely heal us. So this week we're going to kind of delve into what it looks like to live with an illness, how that integrates with our faith, where we should land with it from Amy's perspective. Now, Amy is not going to tell you how you should believe. This is going to be really from her place and how she's kind of navigated through her illness with Jesus and how that looks. So first of all, Amy, tell us a little bit about when you were diagnosed and what your disease is. Now, you don't have to get real technical, but kind of tell us what it is that you have.
Okay, sure. I was diagnosed with a serious lung disease when I was 9 years old. It's actually, the short acronym for it is ABPA, Allergic Bronchopulmonary Aspergillosis. That's currently what I have, but when I was younger, it was both invasive and allergic aspergillosis. Yeah, I was 9. It kind of boggled the doctors. It's extremely rare, and at that time unheard of in children. They did exploratory lung surgery and found this aspergillus in my lungs, and it was confusing because usually it happens with geriatric patients or people with compromised immune systems and older, and it's usually fatal. And so after they did this surgery, they, called around the world, this is before the internet, and tried to find cases of other children with it. And I believe my mom and dad can talk about this more. I think they found a young boy in Canada who had grown up in a log cabin. And so this was just kind of unprecedented, and they had to figure out how to treat it. But the God thing is, while I was in there, it just so happened that the top pulmonologists across the country were meeting at Rainbow Babies and Children's, which was my hospital. And they had a conference, so my case was brought up. What do you do with a 9-year-old with this lung disease? And so what they had decided is they'd put me on this it wasn't chemo, but it's a toxic medicine, and I think 5 doctors had to sign that it was necessary.
They had to sign off on it. Mm-hmm.
And they would go to the extreme of covering. They hooked me up every night at midnight, and they would cover the bag for the IV in foil because no sunlight could get in it. And then I'd have to be hooked up to heart monitors to make sure my heart was okay as the medicine went in. So it was scary for my parents. I think for me as a kid, Rainbow, the miracle is I survived that. What did they tell you guys?
Well, it was called amphotericin, the drug they put you on.
Yeah.
And they always tell you the worst, so you can't be shocked. And the worst was bad. Didn't expect her to live beyond a year, and then you think she wouldn't even get to school, and let alone go on to high school, etc. So we were just hoping to hear that she'd survive it all for any length of time at that, from listening to them.
And the miracle was I did great. I took that medicine. Oh, I think I was in the hospital for between 2 and 3 months that time. 3 months, my dad said. And I remember going in before, on your birthday, and then not getting out till Valentine's Day. And I remember this really crushed my mom. I got out the day before Valentine's Day, and I was so ticked because we had made cookies. We were gonna have a Valentine party, and I got out the day before. So, but that's how fun it was at Rainbow Babies and Children's. It really was like a home away from home.
Yeah, they do a
Other
good
than
job there.
getting IVs every night and blood tests and all that fun stuff. My doctor specialized in cystic fibrosis, so I grew up. I have friends with CF. They'd have long hospital stays, and the miracle is, I survived another 6 years, and I happened to be hospitalized when that group of pulmonologists came back to Rainbow Baby and Children. They meet every 6 years. And they threw out my case again, and so many of the doctors are like, I remember her, and I can't believe she's still alive. So, and the miracle is 6 years later, this time I was not hospitalized, but I was in college, and I was actually cheering, which was a struggle, but also made me extra healthy during that phase. And my doctor, who's so dear to me, Dr. Stern, at the time, he was leading this conference. They had all come back, all the top pulmonologists across the country, and he was leading it, and he asked me if, when he says, the dilemma is, what do you do with a patient whose lungs look like this? And he put up the x-rays, but who functions like this? And that was my cue to throw open the back doors of the auditorium, run down the aisle, and he said, do back handsprings or back flip. And I'm like, Dr. Stern, I'm not a cheerleader at Cleveland State. I am at Malone College. So, and that's not to slam Malone College cheerleaders. Some of them could do that. But I could, so I ran
You're like,
down.
I'll do a herky.
I did a round off toe touch. And the whole auditorium of doctors erupted to their feet and clapped and wanted to talk to me afterwards. So there I am 12 years after. Basically, they told my mom and dad, I mean, it looks like I could die that year. You know, it would be hopeful to live it throughout the year. So then, and here I am. I am going to be celebrating my 50th birthday in the fall. So,
All these
two other
years
fun
later.
stories about that, though. Okay, so my doctor told me when I was 21 that he didn't think I should have children. And I remember telling him, Dr. Stern, I have to. You know, I'm either going to adopt, I'm going to try and hopefully adopt also. But so the fear wasn't that I would have a child with the disease. The fear was that carrying a child for
Right.
9 months would be so wearing on my system. It would, he said, significantly shorten my lifespan. But I didn't care. So I had Charlie. And I remember being pregnant with Charlie. I felt more energy than I had my whole life. And I remember my dad saying, wouldn't it be nice if you could bottle these hormones or whatever's going on? But so I had a very healthy, I mean, I had high-risk doctors. I'm not to say that it was easy, but it was a very healthy pregnancy. And I had Charlie. And then I went on 2 years later and had Timothy. But when I was giving birth to Charlie, I remember somebody coming up from radiology and said they just had to meet me because they saw my lungs and they couldn't believe a person with that set of lungs was going to attempt
To have a baby.
yeah. So he said not, and he was a young guy, did not have bedside manner of a typical doctor, but he said, oh my gosh, your lungs look like an old, old man dying of severe emphysema. And I was like, ta-da! So, and another funny story, there's so many of them, but I'll limit it to one more. I remember, this was kind of recently, maybe 10 years ago, I think right before we met. I had a pneumonia and my doctor was out of the country. And so somebody in his practice wanted to see my x-ray, wanted me to take an x-ray. And I warned him, you can't judge from a current x-ray what's going on without looking at an old x-ray. Because my lungs, I mean, you just have to see an old x-ray
Right.
to compare. Of course, he didn't listen to me. And then he comes into the room. Went through the x-ray. I had it up. He had it up on the wall in the office. And he came in, he opened the door, closed the door, turned around, and saw it and said, holy. So it's quite alarming. I mean, I guess it looks like Swiss cheese. There's holes everywhere. And it's amazing that I function like I do.
Yeah, that's great.
A miracle.
Yeah, it is. I will say now that we're parents, and as parents, there's a different perspective from the parental view. When you have a child who's diagnosed with something so serious, and then you have to balance hope with fear, and also balance what you allow your child to do. I mean, because I'm sure Amy wanted to climb trees and cheer at Malone and all these things that you're like, what?
Go on a hayride.
Go exactly. So, what were some of the things that you all kind of postured yourself where you parented in a way that you could allow her to express her childhood, but at the same time, you had to exercise. Really, you had to exercise some wisdom because this isn't like catching the flu. Bill?
Go ahead.
Well, I'll say with Amy, she doesn't understand the word no. And she has a very strong spirit, and she's a go-getter. She does what she wants to do.
I have to say also, though, her doctors also marveled at Amy, and he was kind of in the way I worry about things, and I would love to have kept her,
Oh, at home.
at home, yes. But he said, if Amy wants to do something, let her do it. And he meant that. He said, with her life the way it is, and if she had the will to do something, let her do it. And so I went from that. It was two ways. He wanted to give her the benefit of doing what she wanted, but I also felt he was letting me know that her life was risky, and we should
Right.
appreciate that we have her at all. And if her desire is to do it, let her enjoy what she's doing. And that's also one reason she's at Malone, went to Malone. She wanted to go far away to college. She wanted the experience of other things. So her father and I agreed that if she could go to Malone and live on campus and pretend, have that feeling of being away from home, even though
Yes.
she was just a short distance from us. And I think that's what helped too, that she was happy to do that.
Oh, and
then.
if I know Amy, you probably had to say, "Could you come home so we
Oh
could
my
see
gosh. She did. She only
Absolutely.
came home when they closed up for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and you had to go home. Yeah.
She did a good job pretending then. You know,
Yeah.
I would say, back to something Bill said, and we'll revisit this, is that, I do believe there's something within our human spirit. I think there's something to be said about the drive and the strength of the human spirit. And I would say that as persuasive as Amy is at almost 50, I cannot imagine how persuasive she was at 12. And I know at one point she wore a little eye patch that she painted with an eyeball on it. I would have hard time saying no to her about anything. But hayrides, I'd probably have to draw the line on a hayride.
Oh,
so.
hayrides were hard.
Yeah.
I think, did you say yes, or did I wait till I was older?
No, you went. You went. Oh no, you went on the hayride. One issue was that if you had your mind made up to do something, you went on the hayride. You had a great time. You come home, and I'm still amazed that you were able to do that.
I have
Pretty
some
incredible.
stories about, yeah.
Pretty incredible. We're going to go to break, and we're going to hear some of those stories when we come back. You have found a place to belong here on the Circle of Friends.
Looking for ways to change up your living space? Stop at Village Gift Barn and view our wide selection of house and home items. Need some tips on how to pull together a room? One of our talented home decor staff will help you put together the perfect arrangement for your home. Located in the heart of Amish country on State Route 39 in Berlin, Ohio, Village Gift Barn, never ordinary, we promise.
It's there when I feel it, it's there when I don't. Your love, your love, your love, your love is gently surrounding and holding me close. Your love can heal my soul. Your love can heal my soul. Your love, your love, your love, your love can piece back together what's broken apart. Your love, your love, your love, your love can bring restoration and give a new start. Your love can change my heart. Your love can change my heart. there when I feel it, it's there when I don't. Your love, your love, your love, your love is gently surrounding and holding me close. Your love can heal my soul. Your love can heal my soul. Consume me with your love, Lord. 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 Your love can change my heart. Your love can change my heart, Lord. Your love can heal my soul. Your love can heal my soul. Consume me with your love. Consume me with your love. Consume me with your love. Consume me with your love, Jesus. Consume me, consume me. Consume me.
You have found a place to belong here on the Circle of Friends, and we are meeting today with Amy and Bill and Carolyn to talk a little bit about illness and faith and parenting and how it all works together and kind of their approach to it as they have navigated life with Amy having a chronic lung disease. Now, Amy's been on Circle of Friends before and in the past, and we've never really delved into a topic like this really that much. So it's interesting to hear your stories even about when you were little, like actually your parents not wanting you to go on a hayride and you not taking a no for an answer and going on the hayride. So what are some things that, how can you speak into those memories as a kid or as a teenager? Did you have any real awareness as maybe I shouldn't do this because of my illness, or what were you more driven like I just want to live my life to the fullest, and if I land in the hospital because of the hayride, then so be it.
Right. Yeah, I think I wanted to live my life to the fullest. I have never been fearful of death. Not that I thought going on the hayride would mean I'd be the end of me, but I've never been afraid to die. I am adventurous. I am a thrill seeker even, and although the hayride, I can't say it was thrill seeking. And I want to go back to that. I think if my parents would have forbid me to go on the hayride,
Oh, you would
I
have
definitely
gone.
wouldn't have gone.
We gave you permission.
But they kind of, I
it was
wore them
under
down,
duress.
and they left it open under duress.
Oh,
But I was constantly pushing them. I was constantly pushing them to let me do things. And-
Listen, let's be honest. A
Amen.
lot of parenting is under duress.
Yes.
You were just under duress with a child with a lung disease, which, listen, our boys, we have a 24 and a 19-year-old, both healthy as horses, and so much of parenting has been under duress. It's been hard. I mean, I was talking to a friend of mine, a dad, actually, who's, a younger dad in his 30s, and I said, I had done something for our 24-year-old that was hard. I mean, my feet hurt at the end of the day, and I was just tired. And I texted our friend, and I said, half of parenting is just plain hard work. And he said, why don't we go ahead and just say 3/4? And I said, well, you know what? The other fourth must be pretty darn good. And it is true. There's so much work and investment and care and knowing where to put your lines of discipline, where to put your lines of limitations. So as it pertains to a child with any kind of chronic illness, it would be so hard. And this was before the internet, right?
Right.
So this would have been before the internet, because I can imagine, Bill, if it was in modern day, you'd be on the internet doing all kinds of research. So what'd you go to the what'd you do? Because I'm sure you researched her illness. Did you read about it?
I used to have a memory, and it was such a wonderful thing.
Did you trust the doctors? Did you consult with the doctors? Because I know Rambo Babies has an incredible reputation.
We did a lot of reading on aspergillosis and her issues, and talking with her doctors helped a lot, but it was a scary time. Not a lot particular to her situation, because it was a rather rare occurrence.
And they basically said they couldn't really. As I got older and I'd ask for prognosis, he'd say that we can't. My doctor, they can't give you one because this is unprecedented.
Right.
Unprecedented. So
Yeah.
I'm not pronouncing that right, but even now, just my last doctor visit with my current doctor, who I love dearly and I've had great care with. This is something we haven't mentioned. My endurance and my breathing has declined significantly over the past 2 years. So a new thing is I've been on oxygen at home for a while now, and it's so beneficial. I've also qualified for oxygen, portable oxygen. So we're looking at that right now, and my doctor, the last visit, said he would like me to get a second opinion somewhere up in Cleveland. And when I was assuring him that I don't think I need one, he said, well, to be honest, I don't have a patient with your disease. As a matter of fact, nobody in my practice has a patient with your disease. And they're the top physicians for Altman. So actually, I didn't know that until a couple months ago, or when he said it. So it's super, super unique in an individual case. And so
So how does that look when he gives you a referral? Does he refer you on to someplace like Cleveland Clinic or someplace here in Ohio like Mayo Clinic?
Yeah.
So a specialist like him would say, I want to refer you on to Dr. So-and-so at Cleveland Clinic because I think he could have new technology or a new
Right.
way or...
he said Cleveland. I can't remember if he said University Hospitals or Cleveland Clinic, but definitely Cleveland, because my doctor, Rainbow Babies and Children's is one of the top hospitals for cystic fibrosis. We had kids, I say we, like I own the hospital, but we had kids coming from California, from all over, because the pulmonologists are amazing. But I think because I declined, I'm not quite sure what that looks like. But I have called in since, because I have a specific friend who is super pushy, like holding my feet to the fire, of I have to get the second opinion. She's sitting across the table from me. And so I have called, and my doctor was not in, but he's coming. Actually, whatever. I'm getting too detailed, but that's in the process.
Yes.
So I don't know exactly how that works yet.
I think that I've had some health challenges in my own life, and I think that they say anyway that you're your best own advocate, or your family, that you advocate best for yourself, and I do think that that's true. I think that we have a level of responsibility for our own health and care for not only our own life, but for the life and the lifestyle of our family close to us. We've talked about that you've thought about the future and not wanting to be a burden to Tim and the boys if your health really declined. I think those are important things to factor in, especially as you get older. I mean, even if you're healthy. I mean, I look like I'm healthy as a horse, and I really am as far as I know. But I wouldn't want to foresee being a burden to my husband or our boys. I would want to make, if I'm going to die, I would want to make it as pleasant as possible, like a Nicholas Sparks movie. Like I just fall asleep on an Adirondack chair on the beach or something nice like that. But I think those topics are important to look at, and I do think when a doctor tells you, I think you should go. I think I should refer you on. I think you should listen to him, Amy.
Yes,
So,
I will.
back to Bill and Carolyn as far as when she was little and when you navigated through it. Did doctors tell you anything you should or shouldn't do? Or I know you mentioned that they said that the one doctor said basically just if Amy wants to do something, let her do it. But were there signs you looked for that she needs to slow down or we need to take her in or?
To be honest, we were so sure she wasn't going to live long that we pretty much wanted her to experience anything she wanted. To me, a year was a miracle. And honestly, when she had her children, I didn't want her to have the babies because I wanted Amy. Well, of course, I'm glad she had faith and didn't listen to me because I so love those boys. So her faith, to me, is a miracle in itself, and
Right,
having her
that's
boys was a miracle. And honestly, any extra day we have with her, to me, is a gift. So I never dreamed we'd be at this point back then.
Yes.
You know, when I first was hearing it
Point.
in the beginning. Now, once she got through college, I started seeing a hope that it was going to be longer. But honestly, I felt God had given me a gift for any time she had. And when I first worked and she was first married, anytime I had a day off, I so wanted to make sure I got to be with Amy anytime I could in her life, because I didn't know how long she'd live. I always came down here to visit. I always visited Amy on my days off because I didn't know how many days I have with her. Now here she is at this age, and I've got the grandchildren, and heavens, I've got other children too, and how lucky I am for all of them, you know,
Right.
thankful for it all. And here Amy's still here with us
Right.
too.
I was sitting here thinking, you would have long hospital stays, and you had 3 other children.
Yes,
So where does Amy fall in the birth order?
she's the oldest, and my youngest son, when this was all going on, was just 18 months when we kind of first started going with it, and then I was pregnant and did not realize it at first when she was in the hospital, and so I had 2 little ones after she was in the, going through all this. And I can remember the one time she got to come home for Christmas that first year. I was,
There was a fiasco.
yes, I was, her dad went up to pick her up. They said she could stay just that day, Christmas Day. And I was getting being pregnant with Kimmy, the youngest. And so I stayed home to get the house ready, and we had started remodeling and couldn't finish it all because this happened with Amy. So we had drywall against the wall, and I was trying to make it look Christmassy and move things, and Bill went to get her, and I moved a table, and the drywall fell on my foot.
Oh no!
And I know it was fractured, but I didn't want to not be with Amy, so I didn't go to get anything done for my foot. And so her dad
But
brought
you
her
also
home.
fell down the steps. You were pregnant with Kimmy,
Huh?
right? Isn't that the time you fell down the steps and you're pregnant with Kimmy?
This was the drywall fell out and I broke.
Oh, I thought that was all mixed. Okay, never mind. Sorry.
No, I don't remember that.
Happened when I was in the hospital too.
Yes, I had fell too, but anyway, a lot of things happened.
But Mom, when you were pregnant with Kimmy, you were on crutches,
Yes,
visiting me in the hospital.
Yes, that's because my foot was fractured.
Okay.
So your foot was actually fractured.
I didn't
Oh,
go to
yeah.
the doctor, but it was definitely, and I have a large bone mark on it.
Oh, you have the remnants, the proof.
Yes.
I think that we'll dive deeper into how our faith intersects with all of this, because I think Amy would have some special things to share, how to deal with a chronic illness and facing your own mortality. And I think that you said something important. And I think that when you are keenly aware that this might be the last day, like when you're keenly aware that that could change in an instant because of a disease, I think that you are a better use of time.
Definitely.
That would be my takeaway
Yes.
from this, is that we use our time better when we feel like our time may be limited. So I think that's a good lesson.
Makes you more appreciative.
Yes, very much so. We are so glad that you are here. We are glad that you are listening, and you have certainly found a place to belong here on the Circle of Friends. And, come back and listen with us again. We're going to dive deeper into this. You found a place to belong here on the Circle of Friends.
Thanks to generous donations, this program is produced by Circle of Friends Ministries. You can write to us at P.O. Box 345, Berlin, Ohio 44610, or contact us at 330-852-0000. You've found a place to belong. Thanks to generous donations, this program is produced by Circle of Friends Ministries. You can write to us at P.O. Box 345, Berlin, Ohio 44610, or contact us at 330-852-0000. You've found a place to belong.